Hi, I'm Christi Olson, and thank you for joining us as we talk about AI and spam, how deep learning, machine learning AI are used in search engines, both for the algorithms and to fight spam. This is Frederic Dubut. He is the senior PM lead for the core algorithm, and he used to be in the spam team. If we think about how AI is used in search today, it's used in quite a few different ways. Everything from ranking, how do we determine which content to display and in what order? The recommendations and the related searches that we show off to the side. How do we map the query to the actual keywords and content on a page? Sequence classification, computer vision, and identifying fighting spam, and so much more.
So you remember there was a bunch of research around like TF-IDF, BM25, but it was pretty hard to fight spam using that. Like a lot of loopholes existed that spammers could use. And now we have this opportunity, now that we understand intent better, we move beyond keywords to be more efficient fighting spam. So here, I'm going to introduce what we call the vector space. So let's say the query here is things to do with children in the Big Apple. So you get the key terms of the query: children represented by this blue vector, Big Apple represented by the gray vector. You take the sum of the two essentially, and the query is represented by this red vector here. Now let's say you get this document on the right side, top 10 things to do with kids in NYC. Intuitively, very relevant document for the query, but it doesn't contain children, it doesn't contain Big Apple. But we're able to know that now what is interesting, if you look at one specific category of spam, duplicated or copied content, you get a bunch of spammers. So in this case, they replace kids with children, and they're going to create a new site that is going to try to attract traffic for people who type children instead of kids. That's what we consider spam. That's something we're trying to demote or crush from our search results. So here, what is interesting is this technique really doesn't work anymore if you look at the vector space, because the intent and the content of the document is roughly the same.
It's this idea of like, what are you doing to create content that is relevant, that adds value to your user set? If you're just scraping or copying, content is not necessarily a bad thing. There's times when even on our content, we'll say we're going to post this on a third-party website and we want to host it on our blog as well. So we are going to use what's called a canonical tag to say this was originally published at this location, because we are not trying to do something malicious. We are not trying to outrank the original site owners. It was published at this location, but we are also going to host it on our site. So there's also things to think about when we're specifically here talking about spam, so people are trying to outsmart the algorithms. There are ways around this. If you are not trying to outsmart the algorithm and you're not just trying to duplicate content across the web, it's not necessarily a bad thing. You just have to make sure you have the right tags on your website in the back end.